Today we face our greatest challenge yet.
The reverse colouring book challenge.
This concept has spawned a set of books
And a TikTok trend.
It might help us unleash new heights of creativity.
Or we might make complete garbage.
I'm in the studio.
And I'm at home.
Each of us will draw a random set of blobs.
And the other will draw a line work over the top.
All right, I need to make some blobs for Kat so that she can make lines out of them. I want to go red, maybe like peach tones, I'm thinking.
Okay, I think I've made this sufficiently difficult for Kat. I have no idea what this blob could be, but I hope she finds something out of it.
Maybe all my art from now on in Inside Art will just be making blobs.
Ooh, I'm immediately drawn to the orangey red one. All right, let's get into it.
So the rules for today, I can zoom in on Kat's artwork, I can rotate it, I can adjust the brightness and the contrast, but I can't paint over it. I can only use black and white lines.
Oh my God, I love the colors in this. I love the contrast as well. We've got some really nice darks and some really bright, vibrant greens going on. This is giving mermaid, sea foam, seaweed kind of vibes. I'm feeling this. I'm seeing Aquarius. Yeah, okay, I think I've got a plan for this one. Oh, I can see a person in this. Hold on. Oh, this could be their hair. This could be an afro. That's kind of cool. I'm torn now. What do I do?
I was immediately drawn to the fiery red and orange artwork. So any chance I get to do traditional, I absolutely will. So I ended up printing Alicia's blobs on just a 300 GSM, nice 300 GSM paper. I was super keen to get going on trying to make this sort of water effect. So I went straight in with a Pilot Pintor painty pen. So controversial opinion, this is a slightly better Posca pen, or at least I think they're better with their lights and pastels than Poscas are. And sort of once I've worked out the forms I want to use with the whites, creating negative space, I went in with the white gel pen as well, just to really bump those up, make them really opaque in areas, and also add some finer lines and finer details as well. I was a little bit scared to go in with black. Black is never a color that I use if I can get away with it. It's too much of a commitment there for me to use black in anything. But I decided if I was going to use black, then I was just going to go in and really use black. So I've got a pen from Copic, which is a Gaston Fude pen. It's like a man-made plastic fiber brush, and it does these really cool textures that almost look like traditional ink brush work. I wanted to keep it quite simple, even in where I'm creating negative space with just the sort of quick zigzag motions. I didn't want that to be too precise, I suppose. I kind of wanted it to seem like almost an afterthought. I really wanted to keep adding to it just because I was having fun, but I realized I was at a point where I needed to stop because I guess the nature of this artwork was that it needed to be simple, and using those simple line strokes for the tree trunks and stuff, I just needed to stop, otherwise it sort of defeats the purpose of that sort of beauty, I suppose. I was actually at a point also where I was looking at my Copic markers, really itching to add colors and textures and things with those, and obviously that's against the rules, so I had to stop there. Maybe that can be a whole separate video. Maybe we can do one where we break all the rules and create something with no rules. I think it's definitely not something a subject that I would normally draw, and it's definitely not a way that I would usually think about going about an artwork. I think the fun part about forcing yourself to think differently when it comes to artwork is you always come up with something new and maybe some skills that you didn't have previously that you might sort of implement in the future. I actually cannot wait to see what Alicia did with the chaos that I gave her.
So the first thing that stood out to me was this huge dark purple mass that was in the top half of my canvas, and immediately I just thought afro. Under all of that, I could see that there was a little bit of negative space that kind of resembled a head. In this challenge, I think it's important to make forms out of the colors that you see, but also to make forms out of the blank space or the negative space that is the background. So in this case, I was just taking this area of white and turning it into her face. At first, the body wasn't very clear to me. I played around with a few versions of her facing away from us and looking sort of shy, but I didn't think it stayed true to the colours that Kat gave me, and I decided to go in a different direction. I landed on this kind of half dancing, hand in her hair sort of pose. Lots of like fashion designers use big watercolor shapes to sort of indicate clothing, and then they add these really intricate characters with ink, and it sort of comes together in this really colorful but intricate sort of way. And I knew I kind of wanted to replicate that with the dress. So even though there isn't a lot of form going on and it kind of just fizzles out at the bottom of the canvas, I thought I could really imply ruffles and texture with just a few lines. So with the lowered arm, you can see that again I used negative space to sort of find that form. I could have traced over the coloured blobs, but instead I decided to use the white space and simplify it into a arm sort of shape. But with the second arm that is sort of stretched upwards, I really didn't know what to do with it. There were no shapes or negative space in the area that sort of resembled an arm. So I saw there was a little bit of negative space above her head, and I decided that it looked like a hand. So you can see I've got one arm that is very clearly defined by the negative space, but then the other arm is completely clouded in this mess of what I've decided is an afro. And I actually kind of like having them both colored completely differently. One thing that I loved about this challenge is like how cohesive the piece feels. It really feels like the character is merging with the background, as if she's like dancing or something, and she's got confetti all around her, and her hair and her dress just sort of fade away. It definitely made me think about my sketch as a series of shapes rather than a bunch of lines. It really helped exaggerate the graphic style that I was going for. And now a word from our sponsor. This is the Carry All Studio. It is the ultimate bag for artists to carry all your art supplies. It's got an everyday handle, you can swing it over your shoulder, or it's even got a backpack mode. It comes in 2 sizes, big enough pockets for laptops, tablets, drink bottles, sketchbooks, cables, any other supplies that you need while on the go. It comes in a range of colours, and the Kickstarter has just launched. To support the project and get yours, click the link on the description.
I didn't naturally see something in this one immediately, but then suddenly I noticed the little sort of bushy blob down in the bottom left corner, and I immediately saw a fish. I immediately started seeing the darker blobs as lily pads, and then I could see a few more sort of swooshes that were more fish tails to me, and then suddenly I had a series of water-related artworks with white ink. I started with my little fish friend, and I wanted to sort of make it a little bit more detailed than my first one. I was a little bit hesitant with how I wanted to do the lily pads. In the end, I decided I was just going to go for it with the brush pen, mostly because I wanted them to appear at least a little bit closer to the camera. So having them a bit thicker and more notice brings them a bit closer foreground. Once I started adding the water swooshy swirlies, I made sure they went over the top of the fish as well, just to push them right down into the water. I had a little bit too much fun, and I might have maybe added too many swooshy swirlies, but I'm not going to apologise for the fun. And it kind of now reminds me of a few like Japanese paper patterns that I've seen, or maybe even kimono patterns, which was totally unintentional. I was just so taken with the red one and knew exactly what I wanted to do that now I'm sort of comparing the two of them. I think I'm just like, that was just so much better.
So the first thing that I noticed about this colour blob is that there was sort of this ring shape that was sort of tilted on an angle, and immediately it looked like the rim of a jug or a vase or something to me. So that, as well as the ocean sort of colours that Kat used, made me decide to go with Aquarius as my concept. Aquarius is a zodiac sign that is represented by a water bearer. The many variations that I've seen of it is it's usually a young girl who is carrying this water jug with infinite water sort of spilling out of it, and I thought it was really appropriate for this challenge. I don't think Aquarius is usually seen as a mermaid, but in this instance I really saw like the flow of a fishtail coming out, so I decided to make her a mermaid as well. So as with any mermaid, I sort of pictured her sitting on this rock, which was a really convenient thing to draw because a rock can sort of be any shape. So I decided to just get the darkest parts of this blob and turn it into this lumpy sort of rock that she's sitting on. Conveniently, I saw her body sort of leaning to the side. That feels very mermaid. Rather than use black and white lines to represent light and shade, I actually reserved the white lines for the water, and I thought that would make it stand out a little bit more from my character. Also, I wanted to include these really natural looking water splashes, and they tend to be white in color. I really appreciated the organic speckly sort of blobs in this shade, and all the spattering kind of looked like she was surrounded by bubbles or water splashes. For the weird scraggly bits below, I decided to interpret them as seaweed because I thought they would be kind of hazy under the water anyway, and I just thought they had a really nice shape to them. You can see that when I get to my character's head and body that I don't really strictly follow the blobs that Kat has given me. So for this area, I sort of force the lines into a character sort of shape, and this works better for my composition, but it also means that the dark lines that I use will better contrast the white background, and this will make the character's face the focal point. So in this challenge, I really tried to take full advantage of all the textures that Kat had given me. You can see that some textured areas become the marble texture of the jug, and other areas that are more speckly or spattery become the splashes of the water. You can even see that the more blurry areas sort of turn into the reflection of the water, and the more colourful and high contrast areas become the scaly pattern of her tail. And I was so happy with how it turned out. I just loved how free-flowing it is, and I love the texture and the colours. It's super vibrant, it's super textural, and I really enjoyed the process of letting someone else's art inspire me.
So I have Alicia's artwork that she did with my blobs set up on my monitors over there, and I haven't seen it yet. And I'm really excited to see what she did with it. I kind of have ideas of what I would have done with it, but I have a feeling that she's going to have done something like totally different. So here we go. Oh, they're so cool. They're like goddesses. Alicia's also sort of done this water element. I think my favorite's the like cloud hair lady. She's awesome. It's so powerful too, like that pose. That's really cool. She totally knocked those out of the park. They're amazing. She's definitely blown mine out of the water.
Thank you so much for watching the whole video, and an extra special thank you to our wonderful patrons who keep us inspired and keep us going every day. If you need something to inspire you to create art, I highly recommend joining our Discord channel. The link is in the description below, and every month we are doing an art prompt that can hopefully inspire you guys to create some cool art. Because it is winter here in Australia, this month's art prompt is winter, so if you want to get involved, be sure to join the Discord. And if you want to spend even more quality time with us, you can absolutely check out our Patreon. That is all that we have for you today, and we'll see you in the next one.